All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this live this morning. I'm so excited to be hanging out with you today. We are so geared up and ready to go for 2025. There's a lot happening on YouTube right now. YouTube has made so many updates and changes and improvements to the platform, and we are just ready to take advantage of it all. And we are ready to help you take advantage of everything that you can to be successful in 2025. It's a little bit funny, but you know how it goes. At the beginning of the year, we all have our goals and aspirations that we want to dive right into, and we want to help give you some focus. If your goals and aspirations for 2025 have to do with YouTube, just like ours do, then we want to make sure that you are pointed in the right direction, but not just pointed in the right direction. We want to make sure that you are also focusing on the right things. There's a lot to do right on YouTube, and there's a lot that you can actually do wrong. And so today, in this mastermind, in this live, I want to talk to you guys about things that you can do to be successful on YouTube, strategies for growth in 2025. We've done a lot of polls on the channel here lately, and it's so interesting to see what your focuses are right now. And I think some of those things are totally valid and super important. We're going to talk about some of them today. But then there's some things that some of you seem to think are important that just aren't as important. And it's easy to get caught up in those things. That just happens. And so if you have anything that you're concerned about on your channel in 2025, if you have strategies for growth that you are curious what we think about them, feel free to drop those into the chat. We're going to be going here for a little bit and talking about these strategies. So to get started, we did a poll yesterday on the channel. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may not have. That's all right. But we said, hey, we're going live and we want to talk about strategies for growth. And then basically let us know what you want to know about and what are your goals. And so we said, are your goals to reach a milestone like 1,000 subs, 10,000 subs? Is your goal to make it your full-time job? How many of you out there are wanting to go full-time on YouTube? Maybe quit your day job and make this your full-time gig. I'd love to hear if you're in that camp. Are you just interested in exploring a new niche, learning some new things, or are you just here to have fun? The cool thing is, no matter what of those categories you fall into, they're all the right answer. There's a lot of reasons to be doing YouTube. We particularly love the business side of YouTube. It can create such a great income for all of us. But if that's not why you're here, that's also okay. So we're going to talk about what type of growth opportunities are, no matter why you're doing it. And so let's get started with that. Hey, everyone in the chat. Good to see you. I'm just seeing a couple of you pop in. Earth Central says, my plan is to get a car and get going on my Mount St. Helens documentary and return to storm chasing. That's a great goal. That's pretty sweet. I love how specific that is. That's very cool. Dog's Life says, dog posts and entertainment. Is that a good spot? We're going to talk about that, Dog's Life. So don't worry. We're going to talk about that here soon. So jumping into the comments from this community poll that we did yesterday, I just want to acknowledge some of you who posted in there before we dive in here. But again, those of you in the chat, feel free to leave your comments and questions. We'll get to them here in just a minute. Let's see. This is Mavestream Craft says, I'm facing a frustrating dilemma. Consistency seems to be the key to YouTube success, but it's incredibly challenging for me to maintain. When I'm consistent with uploads, I see a noticeable increase in views. However, any drop in consistency leads to a drastic decline in viewership. To address this, I'm considering uploading just one video per month. While this ensures consistency, I'm concerned that it won't be enough to generate sufficient views for monetization. With only 12 videos a year, it feels like an uphill battle. I've also heard that in 2025, consistency is the ultimate factor, overshadowing the importance of video quality, tags, titles, and thumbnails. This is disheartening, but as my best efforts seem to be wasted with my videos often experiencing a sudden drop in views after a new upload. What are your thoughts on the situation? How can I find balance between consistency and maintaining high quality content while still achieving sustainable growth on YouTube? This is a great question. There's a couple pieces here, so I want to break it down because I think you ask about a couple things that apply to so many of us here. So you talk about consistency as a factor on YouTube. And I really want to dive into why consistency matters, and then in some case, some misunderstandings about consistency on YouTube. So why does consistency seem to matter? Well, from a human standpoint, which is what we care about here at Channel Makers, we care about the audience. We care about the people actually watching our videos as individuals. So to them, consistency matters because as humans, we like patterns. We like to know what to expect. We like to see what's coming up. And when you have some amount of consistency, it gives your viewers something to look forward to. For those people who are coming back to your channel over and over again, to people who are watching your channel, multiple videos in a row, that consistency becomes something they can rely on. You become part of that person's day. You become part of their schedule. So when there's a lack of consistency from the human side, YouTube knows, they can see that people have that and they like it. From the algorithm standpoint, I'm a little bit less certain about this, but it would make sense to me that YouTube likes seeing consistency because there are so many channels out there on YouTube. And YouTube can only push so many channels to so many people. And so channels that are slightly more consistent than others, it would make sense that YouTube is more likely to push those channels out because YouTube's goal is to get people watching channels consistently. And YouTube knows that they can make more revenue on platform if people are watching more videos more consistently. And so YouTube is more likely to favor channels who are publishing more often or more consistently than those who aren't. So those are kind of the two pieces to it. So yes, consistency is very, very important. But it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You don't have to be a robot that just produces one video every single week forever and ever. There are different ways to approach consistency. Like you mentioned, maybe doing fewer publishing uploads, but then dialing that back so that you can have a little bit more of an opportunity for each video to grow. That's a totally great way to approach it, but it's not the only way to approach it. I also want to address something else that you said here, and that's it feels like it's been an uphill battle for you, but you've heard in 2025, consistency is the ultimate factor for growth, overshadowing video quality, tags, titles, and thumbnails. What do I feel about that? I think that consistency is important. Do I think consistency overshadows video quality? Probably not. I think video quality is still going to overpower consistency. Of course, consistency being very important, but video quality, again, YouTube wants people to watch videos longer. What keeps people watching videos longer is the quality. The quality of the video is very important. If you have a low quality video, I might only watch 30 seconds of your 10-minute video. But if you have a high quality video, I'm more than likely going to watch 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of your 10-minute video, and YouTube likes to see that. There are certain factors that we'll talk about later on, hopefully in this stream, that are really important to YouTube for getting people to actually click on your videos and to watch a little bit longer. But again, consistency is key, but I don't think it's more important than video quality. It is more important than video tags, I would argue. And then titles and thumbnails. Again, I think titles, thumbnails, video quality, and consistency, I think those are all right up there at the top. I don't know if I would put one above the other. So to balance your consistency while maintaining high quality content, I would say figure out where those things intersect for you. If once a month is the max you can do while producing high quality content, then start there. I think that's okay. But you're right, having only 12 videos every year publishing doesn't give you very many lines in the water. And I'm a huge believer of having lots of lines in the water on YouTube. It's really, really important that we are not only, publishing content, getting lots of content out there consistently, but, we do need to make sure that the content, like you said, there are people out there who only do it, once a month. Like Mark Rober is probably the biggest example. He's made it work. But again, if he had done that from the very beginning, if he hadn't, stayed consistent for years and years and years, I don't know where he'd be. So it's hard to take that and boil it down to a situation like yours. If it's possible for you to do every other week, then do something like that. But again, just start where you can right now. And then as you continue to move and grow on YouTube, maybe there will be some opportunities later on for some additional change. Okay, let's jump back over here to the chat. I'm not neglecting you guys. Welcome to all of you guys jumping into the chat. It's good to see you. Glad you're here. Earth Central, good to see you. The In-Between, good to see you. English Breakfast, Romanticy, good to see you. Great to have all of you here. Okay, let's see. Someone here says I'm stuck with cats and 700 subs. That's great. Okay, let's see if I'm missing any questions here in the chat. I believe we have Ricky in the chat. Thanks, Ricky, for jumping in there and helping me out here. It's always nice to have someone on the other side helping. Okay, let's see. Earth Central says, although curious on your thoughts on my storm chasing plans, as I also plan to start a collab series where I take other content creators out storm chasing, focusing on content creators not in the storm chasing niche. That's a very interesting idea. I like it. I think it's a unique take on storm chasing. I've actually watched some storm chasing content, not a ton, but I think collabing with other creators and getting other creators out there who aren't in that niche, I think that could be a really interesting way to grow your niche a little bit and get other people into storm chasing. That's sort of where my mind goes initially. Getting other creators who aren't in the storm chasing niche, it kind of brings a unique opportunity for you to grab their audience a little bit, right? So they're going to hopefully come along with you, maybe go do some storm chasing, but then maybe some amount of promotion goes out to their audience or people who are watching their channel. YouTube's going to recommend that content to them. And then people who maybe have overlap in, their audience and your audience can then become your audience. So I think that that's a cool idea. Without knowing too many of the details of it, right off the top of my head, that sounds really cool. Okay, Dog's Life says dog posts in entertainment. Is that a good spot? So yeah, Dog, from the entertainment niche or video style perspective, that can be a great place to be on YouTube. Of course, the entertainment space on YouTube is ginormous, right? There is so much on YouTube that would be considered entertainment. But there's probably different levels. We think about the biggest creators on platform who are most likely in entertainment. And that's the value of entertainment, right? An entertainment style YouTube channel has the broadest appeal, right, to the biggest audience. That's why channels like Mark Rober that I mentioned earlier, or channels like Mr. Beast, those channels have so many subscribers because they're broadly applicable to such a wide audience. They don't have to be interested in crocheting, right? It's like there's only so many people interested in crocheting, or there's only so many people interested in building fish tanks, or there's only so many people interested in, doing DIY car repair. But for Mr. Beast to go out and make a video where he does something kind of big and, kind of extraordinary, a lot of people could just watch that without caring at all who Mr. Beast is. And the same goes for like kind of big TV shows and stuff like that. It's the same idea. And so being in the entertainment space can be great. What I would watch out for is to make sure that your content actually is entertaining and is engaging. It's not easy to do, but go find some channels. Make sure that you're looking out for channels that are similar to yours, not exactly the same. Maybe it's even a different niche, but they have a style that you want to emulate. If you find a channel like that, then I would try and emulate them and, keep your own stylistic points, but then also take some of theirs and see what you can do with it, just to get an idea of how and where you can grow. Because the entertainment space, like I said, is very competitive, and it is harder to grow in the entertainment space than it is compared to like education. But it's totally possible that we have some people in Project 24 who are in the entertainment space, and they do a great job. They are finding audience, they're gaining loyal followers, and so it's totally possible. I think that it's a great place to be. Okay, let's keep rolling here. English Breakfast Romanticy says, hi, everyone. Hello. I know I'm a little behind on the chat here. I'm going to catch up. Let's see. Someone made a comment about publishing consistency or publishing schedule. I'd be curious to know what all of you think. What do you think the optimal publishing frequency is? Do you think it's once a week? Do you think it's every other week? Do you think it's twice a week? Or do you think it's every day? Let me know what you guys think in the chat here. What do you think the most optimal publishing frequency is? From my perspective, and I did cover it just a little bit earlier, I don't know if there is a perfect publishing frequency, but somewhere between every other week and twice a week. To me, that feels like a pretty solid starting point for any channel. Now, of course, there's going to be outliers, right? Some people like Mark Rober or someone here in the chat talk about doing only once a month. And that can totally work for some channels. And then there are creators who post every day. And then there are some creators who even post multiple times a day. And so, of course, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach this. But for those of us just getting started, when we're talking from a strategic standpoint, what do we do when it comes to publishing frequency? I would say figure out how much time you can dedicate every week to YouTube, and then figure out how long it takes you from start to finish on a video. And then do that math and figure out how much you can produce in a week. Can you produce one whole video in a week? Can you produce half of a video in a week? It just all depends on the person. But generally speaking, starting from 2 a week up to 1 every other week is probably where I'd start. Let's see, a couple people here are saying at least once a week, as often as you can while making great content. I think that's the right answer from the in-between. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not perfect, but you can definitely get there. And I think that as you grow, and I keep using the word grow, whether or not your subscriber counts are getting ginormous or whether you're getting huge views, part of growing on YouTube is becoming better at the craft. And I know that that's not the public facing growth that we all, hope for and look forward to, but becoming good at YouTube is something to be learned. Not all of us are great on camera at the very beginning. Not all of us are good editors. I still wouldn't consider myself to be a good editor. I can do editing, but it's not something that I am like honed in on. It's just something that I'm learning and still growing with. And so growing on YouTube, that's a very important part. And I would encourage you, as part of your 2025 strategy for growth on YouTube, is figure out what of these skills are most important for you. And part of that is figuring out what pieces of the process are kind of the hardest, which ones hurt the most. For a lot of us, I think it is editing. Maybe some of you can confirm that's true for you. I know editing for a lot of us, whether or not it's difficult, it's very time consuming. And when you don't look at it from sort of the craft and perspective, it can be a lot. But figure out what that is for you. What does your skill growth on YouTube look like in 2025? That's a huge piece of growing your YouTube channel, because if you're not improving your skills along the way, your channel is very unlikely to grow, because you're not going to improve the content like it needs to be improved in order to get that audience growth. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's keep rolling here. Let's see. English Breakfast Romanticy says, what is the best way to define your value to your viewers and build on that with each video to ensure that you're producing quality content? That's a good question. So defining your value to your viewers. So asking yourself the question, what is it that brings people to my channel initially? And then what is it that brings them back over and over again? I think that's what you're getting at. Because I think that's something that we ask ourselves around here pretty often. Why are people coming to the channel, and what's going to keep them coming back? I think the reality is, for a lot of small channels, like maybe yourself, and maybe you know this answer for yourself, but I think it's so good to talk about. Figuring out what that value is for your audience is so important. Because I know for me, when on some of the small channels that I've started up in the last year or so, I've experimented with different types and styles of content within a niche, trying to figure that out. What is it that people, how do they connect with me? What type of content really brings out the best of me so that they can connect with my content and want to stay and then continue to watch my content over long periods of time? And I think the best way that I've found to figure that whole process out is just to keep testing. One channel in particular that I've been working on for a little over a year now, I believe, we started out with one style of content, and it just wasn't resonating at all. And so we tried another style of content and another style of content, and then we had one work. And when I say it worked, our views were really low still. Typically we'd only get like 50 views on a video, but this one got like 300 views. And I realized, okay, something's a little bit different here. Let's try again. So we tried again. It worked again. We had a little bit better subscribe rate. We had a little bit longer watch time, and the video got pushed a little bit farther. And so we did it again. And we started seeing this pattern of something that was actually working a little bit better. And the only way that we could have figured that out was to keep testing types of content and different types and styles of content, different presentation types, different, video angles and that sort of thing. So there is this sort of technical element, but I think then you also need to think, Ricky did a video on this I don't know, it was maybe a year ago, but I think it was a video. The branding on the video was about getting 4,000 watch hours, and I think Ricky talked about finding the thing that you have that nobody else has. And I know a lot of people had a hard time with that concept because, from a knowledge standpoint, maybe you don't feel like you have something special. Maybe some of you do. But the very cool thing about YouTube that I love is that people can end up watching your channel for you. So even if you are doing DIY car repair, that's great. People can come and learn from you. But as you add little things in there about yourself, maybe it's just one-off jokes. Maybe you have dry humor and they love that. Those people who like DIY car repair, they're going to need more DIY car repair help in the future, most likely. And they're going to be more likely to come back to you if they liked your dry humor, or you did something that was a little bit quirky, or maybe you messed up doing the repair, but you didn't cut it out. You just said, you know what, this happens. It's actually a really common mistake. And then you just move on. They're going to like that realness. So when you think about what do you have that nobody else has, which is a very important question when finding your value to your audience, don't think about it just from like a skill perspective, or don't just think about it from a knowledge perspective. Think about it from like a personality perspective. What do they like about you? Are you really friendly? Are you bubbly? I guess, again, maybe you're dry, maybe you're kind of grumpy and they think that's funny. There's a lot of different ways that you can be unique and have something that not anybody else has. If you look at other people in your niche, you can maybe more easily identify what they have that nobody else has. That might be easier to start with somebody else than it is to start looking inward. So I would say do that. Look outward to other people in the niche, and from your perspective, what do they have that nobody else has? And then do it to yourself and think, what do I have to offer that nobody else has? I think that that's probably the best way that I've found to do it. It's not like a simple, A, B, C step type of thing, but it really does develop over time, and it might change over time. As your channel morphs from one thing to another, it will grow and it might change a little bit. Maybe you'll add things in that it didn't start with, and you'll find that the audience really loves those things. But I love that question. You're thinking along the right lines there. I really, really like that. Okay. All right. Let's see. The in-between says, from their goal, I believe, cutting the cord and doing this full time. Very, very cool. That's awesome. Great goal. I love seeing your guys' goals here. Okay, let's see. Lead with Jim asks, does using tools like ChatGPT to write your descriptions, does YouTube penalize you for copying the descriptions for the AI tool? Similar question for things like vidIQ. So utilizing AI, we'll talk a little bit about that a little more generally, because I think it's applicable. No, I don't believe that YouTube is penalizing creators for utilizing things like utilizing AI and things like the description, tags, whatever. I don't think we're getting penalized for that. It's actually a good practice, generally speaking, to have some sort of default description in all of your videos. And you wouldn't need AI to write that every single time for you. There is actually a place in YouTube where you can have the default description show up in every video. Now, if you're writing a custom description for every video on top of that default description, which you can do, then yeah, I would use AI if it actually helps you, and if it's quality that you would be proud of. If it sounds like you, if it feels like you, if it feels like the channel, then I don't have any issue with that, and I don't think YouTube does either. YouTube right now is leaning into some AI tools. I think Ricky has a video talking about some of these tools that YouTube's come out with. That video should come out in the next few weeks, I think. But yeah, YouTube's leaning into that. And so I think as long as the quality is good, as long as it's not just kind of a garbage AI description, then I don't think there's an issue with that. I also want to talk about utilizing AI more overarchingly on your channel. AI has made leaps and bounds of improvement over the last year or two. I mean, really over the last couple of years, but it wasn't that long ago that we were testing out AI tools, like 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they just were not very good. Really, really, really poor quality. And to be completely transparent with you, for the longest time, I was pretty anti-AI. I didn't like it. I didn't like using it. It just felt wrong. I didn't think the quality could be good enough for me, for my standards. But as we've continued to test, especially over the last year, I've been so impressed with what it can do. And not just from a time saving standpoint, but from a quality standpoint, from an ideas standpoint, helping me feel inspired on my channel. I don't use AI to replace my thinking when I'm coming up with video ideas, to replace my thinking when I'm working on my scripting or my editing. That's not the way I use AI. I know a lot of you out there, maybe some of you are in this chat, maybe you aren't, but I know a lot of people out there utilize AI only to save time, and there is a reduction in quality. But I would push back on anyone that doesn't like using AI right now and say, you don't have to be that person. You're going to end up with better videos, better ideas from inside your own head if you use AI. And the reason I say that is because I've experienced that. We've come across a couple creator tools this year that we really, really like. We've talked about them pretty extensively on the channel. One of them is Spotter. It's a good tool for helping you come up with ideas and then crafting a better story in each and every video. We just like it. We worked with them a little bit earlier this year, and ever since then, we've just been talking about it because it's something that we really like. Even just, regular large language models like ChatGPT, there is so much value. You can build out custom GPTs on ChatGPT or any other where you can actually feed it information and say, just from this information, help me figure out what, help me decide what's most important about this, or what ideas, do you have based on just this one thing that I fed you? And then you can take some of those ideas, combine them with ideas that you had, because the reality is we as creators have limited time, we have limited experience. And sometimes when we go do research, we can find out and learn new things that would be helpful for our videos. And that's okay. Like, just think about doing a Google search or going to the library and learning something new. Well, utilizing AI to learn something new is the same thing, especially from a very educational standpoint. You can go learn new things to implement into your work. And so any of you who would push back on that, I get it. I was there. Any of you out there who hate AI, I get it. There are a lot of things I don't like about it. We won't talk about those things today, but from a creator help standpoint, we know that you guys out there, many of you are doing this on your own, by yourself, after work, late into the night, early in the morning, and anything that can help you be better, not just faster, anything that can help you be better and faster is something that we will talk about on this channel. So if you don't like it, sorry, we're going to talk about it because we know that it can make you better without sacrificing your quality, without sacrificing your morals or standards. You can just become a far better creator. If any of you have experience out there, positive or negative, I'd be happy to hear it. But that's kind of where we are with AI right now. I utilize AI typically in some form for most videos. Not over producing, when it comes to the videos, like utilizing AI for the whole thing. There's still plenty of thought and massaging and work that goes into every single video from a human standpoint, because I think it's so important that we still connect to our audience. And if it is only AI creating, then I do think we miss out. So anyway, I'll get off my AI soapbox, but I think it's very important. Creating in 2025, I would say you don't have to jump on the AI train, but find some way to test it out on your channel, even if it is just ideas. There's a book that we read this year from Jeremy Utley, I believe, and it's all about ideas, getting ideas, being inspired by ideas. And he particularly talks a lot about AI and how helpful it could be with ideas. And so that's where I would start if I were you. All right, let's move on. All right. Let's go forward. Earth Central says, I use ChatGPT to generate the questions that I would ask people that lived at the time in 1980 Helens erupt for my documentary. That's a good way to think about it. English Breakfast Romanticy says, how valuable is other social media such as Instagram, TikTok to building a community, or would you say there is less cross-platform connections? Utilizing other social media can be big. It's hard to say because it doesn't work for every niche the same. Sometimes you'll have a niche where the social media side, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Facebook, sometimes those just blow up and it actually ends up helping the growth of your YouTube channel. And then there are some where it kind of supports, it supplements. Maybe your audience happens to spend more time on Instagram than they do on YouTube. It can definitely supplement. but it's not the, I don't know, it's not the end all be all. It can work. Probably what I would say is just do some testing. That's my favorite way to approach pretty much anything. Many of you probably know that. Just test. And what that means is figure out the easiest, cheapest, fastest way to go try something new to see if you can gain a result. And maybe that looks like doing 3 posts a week on Instagram for a month. And maybe you create all the posts in one day and just have them ready to go, 12 for the entire month. And you see what happens after that first month. And if you feel like you got enough growth, then great, you could continue on or keep testing, I guess you could say. And if you feel like it wasn't worth it, maybe you can revisit in a couple months. But I would definitely test. I have seen some creators where social media has played, again, a really big part in their growth. I just don't see that with everybody. One thing that I will say is a lot of times having some amount of some social platform like Instagram especially gives people a place to reach out to you. Many of you probably have an email like in your bio section on your channel. That's great. But I get a lot of people reaching out to me on Instagram for business opportunities. Some of them are scams, of course, but I have come across very legitimate business opportunities from Instagram, people reaching out on Instagram. So YouTube doesn't have a great place for people to reach out to you other than in the comments, and it's so easy to miss those. So even just from that standpoint, I would say it might be worth just having one, even if you're not totally active on it. Or, honestly, posting behind the scenes type content could be great. There's so much you could do with it. We could probably be here all day talking about that. But yeah, there's probably some way out there you could test it to see if it'd be worth it for you. Let's see. English Breakfast Romanticy says, I've used AI as more of a sounding board and a support to generate initial ideas and then refine them myself into a video concept, but also help me understand SEO and keywords too. I think that's great. That's very good. All right. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, yeah. Okay, the in-between's talking about some custom GPTs here, it looks like. The whole custom GPT thing, I'm very interested in that. We'll have to do a video on that here pretty soon. We've gotten some pretty heavy pushback, I'm not going to lie, about AI on the channel. But again, that's not going to stop us from talking about it, because our goal, our one purpose here is to help you guys grow. And sometimes that means talking about things that just don't interest everybody. And that's okay. We want to be here for those of you who want to do it. All right, let's talk about some more general strategy on YouTube for 2025. Couple things. To simplify is the first probably important thing. There are so many steps to creating on YouTube. You have to learn how to be a script writer. You have to be an expert researcher. You have to, become someone who's an on-camera personality. You have to become an editor and producer. There's a lot of things that go into creating for YouTube. And so figuring out ways to simplify, that'd be number one for me. Simplify your processes. Work through them enough, get enough reps so that you can figure out what works, what doesn't, what are the roughest points for you, the things you have the hardest time with. Figure out what that looks like for you. Second thing is to focus on the things that are important. Things that I would consider the most important all surround topic of your videos, probably channel topic, video topic, thumbnails, titles, and then getting people to stay on your videos. So the retention side of things. So to simplify that down, topic, branding, and then retention. Those are probably the three things that I would focus on going into 2025. Now, yes, this is a little bit of an oversimplification, but if you're focusing primarily on those three things, then it just makes it easier as you're working through the different steps on YouTube. Because it is easy to go into YouTube analytics and just get completely overwhelmed by everything that's in there, not really knowing what matters, what doesn't, how do I know if I'm doing this right? It can be very, very, it can feel impossible to grow. But if you're focusing on video topic, branding, and then retention, that is the best way to be successful on YouTube. So let's talk about video topics, and channel topics I'll throw in there. So if you haven't started your channel yet, you can apply this to this too. But from a video topic perspective, you need to find something that interests people, right? So you need to come up with an idea. There's a lot of different ways to go about this, but you need to have some sort of idea, right? Some sort of basic premise. And then you need to find an angle on that. And when I say an angle, That's where the branding and the marketing comes in. So let's say I'm going to do, I don't know, bracelet making. Julia went to Made on YouTube this last year in New York, and YouTube made us these little bracelets. And so let's say your video is about making bracelets. I know nothing about that, so we'll see where this example goes. So let's say you have the general premise. You're going to show, making, bracelet making for beginners. I don't know. What could you do to kind of make that marketed? What could you do to make that topic a little more interesting? Maybe it is a specific technique that you're going to show. Let's do that. It's a little more niche. So a specific technique for making these bracelets. Well, that at face value maybe isn't that interesting. Maybe you know that that's what people need, but it's not that interesting. What if you did something like, I've never seen a bracelet making technique this simple. Okay, that's better, right? We're focusing on the simplicity element. There's a little bit of branding around the simplicity of that title. What if you said, this technique will speed up your bracelet making process by 5 times, or you'll be 5x faster bracelet making. Okay, that's pretty good. We're now focusing on speed, right? So we're getting people to speed up their process. What if it was something like become an expert bracelet maker with this technique or whatever? Okay, now we're helping people feel like they're going to learn something or grow. So you can kind of see the thought process here. It started out a bracelet making technique for everybody or for beginners, but then we can quickly craft a title and then a thumbnail along with the title that's going to get people, it pulls on what's important to them. You need to realize that for your branding, there are certain things that matter to your audience. Something that we've realized on Channel Makers is that people care about getting more subscribers, they care about getting more views, and they care about making more money on their channel. Those are sort of the 3 main things that people care about. And so when we craft the branding on our videos, a lot of the branding will have something to do with one of those things. I'm spilling the secrets here for you guys. I don't know if I'm allowed to be saying all this. Ricky will probably yell at me in the comments here, but these are the types of things that you need to be doing on your channel. You need to find out what your audience cares about so that you can appeal to them, because they're going to go on their phone to scroll YouTube or on their computer, and there are hundreds and hundreds of titles and thumbnails. And so when you appeal to somebody, whether it's a niche thing like this, maybe it's entertainment like Dog's Life, maybe it's something where maybe you do vlog or gaming or whatever, ASMR, it doesn't matter. Whatever you think could appeal to somebody and what your audience cares about, the branding of your video needs to fit that. It's so important. And it may seem really simple, and it is sort of simple in action, but a lot of us miss it. We just don't do this very well. So after you get your branding right, your title, right? And then a good accompanying thumbnail. Maybe, I do this crazy thumbnail where I'm a little bit blurred in the background, but you can see this right up front. That kind of thumbnail, we want to focus on what's important. Maybe there's like a little arrow pointing to, or it's kind of blurred out. You can do the branding really, really well and so simply if you know what the audience cares about. Now, once you have the branding right, you get people to stop when they see your thumbnail, they read your title, and you get them to click. That's great. That means your topic is good, your title was good, and your thumbnail was good. Now, once they click, now it's time to get them to stay on the video. This is the retention part. Now, the first part is the hook, right? The intro and the hook. We always talk about the first 30 seconds of the video. This is such a critical part of the video because this is where the majority of the drop-off happens. I was just talking to a creator earlier, and they said that their average retention across their video is like 10%. It was really, really low. And they were just struggling to figure out what was wrong with their videos. And as we look at their videos in the first 30 seconds, it was clear that they hadn't learned the process yet of getting people to stay on the videos, hooking them in and keeping them there. And so what can that look like for you? Well, going back to my bracelet example, if I'm telling them, this one bracelet making technique is going to make you a master bracelet maker, I better mention that in the first 30 seconds. That should be one of the first things out of my mouth. And it might be even showing or like nearly showing the thing that I'm going to do that's going to make them masterful bracelet makers. I'm going to like nearly show it. And then maybe I do a cut and then I start at the beginning. So I'm teasing. Again, we're continuing to tease the viewer. We're continuing to make them feel intrigued and interested and curious. We want to continue these feelings throughout. And a hook Yes, we talk about hooks at the beginning of videos, but guess what? That's not the only place to put them. You should be re-hooking your viewers throughout the entirety of the video. If you're only doing one hook in your video right now, try doing 3 hooks. Do one in the first 30 seconds, do one at the 2-minute mark, and then do one at the 6-minute mark, and see how that improves your retention. This is going to be one of the best things that you can do for your channel. YouTube loves to see people watching longer. If your average view duration is 2 minutes on a 10-minute video, but then all of a sudden YouTube sees that you went from 2 minutes to 4 minutes on a 10-minute video, your videos will be pushed farther out without fail. YouTube is going to push your videos farther. And as you become more skilled at this process, YouTube is going to push all of your videos farther because they're all going to be doing better. They're all going to perform better. You're going to get people clicking through at a higher rate, and you're going to get them watching longer. If you can do that, then you are well on your way to success on YouTube. We talk about for our Project 24 YouTube system that we can get you monetized in under 50 videos. And 50 videos might sound like a lot, but the average on YouTube is like 134 videos to get monetized. We know we can get you there in under 50. And part of that, the reason why we know that we can get you there is because all these things that I'm talking about. We've honed it in, we've tested it over and over and over again, and we found the best way to do it. And so I'm very, very confident in these things. These are the best things that you can focus on for YouTube in 2025. Consistency, like I talked about earlier, is so key. You need to be consistent. If you only publish 2 months out of 12, you're just not going to have that much growth. And I get it. It is hard. On my channel that I've talked about working on, I don't think I've published a video on there in probably 2 months. So you're in good company, I guess is what I could say. It's hard going home after you come home from work. You're editing, you're trying to do everything. It is hard. Be as consistent as possible. Focus on the things that matter in 2025. You guys are awesome. You're going to do this. You can grow on YouTube. It does take time. Most of us, 99% of us, are not going to explode our channels, but slow and steady growth is the name of the game. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to grow a slow and steady with a strong foundation so that you can build up a business on YouTube that's going to bring you and sustain you, bring you all the goals and the happiness that you're looking for. So that's our goal here. Let's see. English Breakfast Romanticy says, what would your advice be for a niche in BookTube that seems to be quite stable in its top creators and consistent in its types of videos that do well, but everyone is doing nearly the same thing? So for something like that, it is tough because you feel like you want to be unique, but if you're too unique, then nobody comes and watches your stuff. It all comes back to that testing, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, it's actually a really exciting process if you look at it like a test or like an experiment. Figure out what percentage of new you can bring into a format that is tried and true. So let's say you have a tried and true format. Like you said, everyone's doing this one format. Do it to the 85%, right? Do 85% tried and true, and then add in 15% of something new, something that you just want to try. It can be something crazy. It can be off the wall. Maybe it's just a slight difference that you think would appeal to the audience, but just test those things and do it in a couple videos. Do the same test a couple times. Not everyone sees every single video, right? So try that and see if it works. Did people in the comments, did they feel really kind of turned off by that 15% that you tested? Or maybe you realize that they like it. As you do those different tests, you're going to find out what people like and what they don't. What I will caution you on is don't try and be completely unique. It's hard because when you are completely unique, YouTube won't know who to show your videos to. They have a hard time going, okay, this person is similar to this person. That's what YouTube needs. Their algorithm really likes that when they can look at you and your profile and your audience profile and say, it looks similar to this. Let's test right here. So that's why I say start with like a 10 or 15% change because then YouTube will have still some bearings on who to show your stuff to. It's not going to be completely random to them. Hopefully that helps. I know it's a little bit vague, but test a couple new things. I think it's going to make a difference. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up there. Thank you guys for joining me on this live today. You are all awesome. Good luck on your channels. 2025 is right around the corner. If you haven't set goals for your channel, do it. That is the one sure way to fail, is just to not plan for the future. So I'm so excited to see what we can accomplish in 2025. We have some banger videos coming out at you in the next few weeks and months. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting our channel. Thank you for being part of our channel makers community. We'll see you guys later.